doesn't have to care about fee-paying students like you guys. You pay a lot of fees, but the bottom line, university doesn't care about you that much. Doesn't care, to be more specific, doesn't care about your money that much. University has got a lot of cash, sitting on a lot of cash, right? The amount of cash, I shouldn't be saying this, but it's not far from the government budget for a whole year. A lot of cash. How much land does this university own? How much land does this university own?
A lot.
Where? Around here? A lot around here? Yeah, yeah. Does that mean something? What about the building behind us? Yeah, that belongs to university. Well, on the opposite side, that belongs to university. What about that side? That belongs to university as well. What about MBK? Yeah. Okay. So, I didn't really care anyway. And then I got there, I saw the VP. VP. She forgot some of the documents, right? To print some of the documents. She went back to her computer and print out, right, some of the documents that were missing. Okay. That was her desk. Just down the alley then. And that was it, VP. Right. So yeah, very successful. To me, no. A lot of MSF alumni, I would say, large majority, by far, recent ones, the past 10 years, don't do well. But that's natural. It shows, right? A lot of them are analysts. Keep switching firms. Switch firm, change firm. Not that they got an offer. But of course, dogs wag their own tail, right? Dogs always wag their own tail. So when they switch firms, they say it's better. But no, they get pressure, right? From the boss, the current boss, you should leave, you should leave, you should leave, you should leave. Okay? Some survive, still survive, continue working, write reports, okay, fine. But even the institutional clients of this particular firm or the institutional managers in their own firm don't read their report. I know this, right? I have a record of performance of these so-called analysts because they all go through this course. I run the course in the way that I do. So I get to separate between good type and bad type. All right? So when you write, who do you write for God's sake? I say this so many times. In class and to groups, a lot of groups that come to see me, I think they get it. When you write for whom? You write for whom? Who do you write for? When you write something? Investors, yeah. You've been in audit, right? You prepare financial reports for whom? For auditors?
Stakeholders.
No. No. Users of financial information. That's in the FRS. Users, right? Users. Whoever they are. You may call them stakeholders, fine, but I don't know what that means to me. I don't care about that little just stakeholders, this and that. You get Human Rights Watch, are they stakeholders? Just users of financial statement. Do auditors prepare financial statements for themselves? When I write my research, I do my research, I write my papers, I write for whom? I write my papers for whom? Who do I want to please, to make happy? Myself? No. I want to please the editor. Editor first. Then the referee, whoever that is. PhD students at whatever university who might like to cite my papers. I don't care about any of those. They don't even think about it. Do I care about professors from other universities who might like to cite my work when I write my paper? No. I care about maybe some professors, the big ones, who may be the referee. Okay? I know if my paper is likely to go to this group of people or this species, okay, of academics, then I try to think, this is how they think. This is what they want to see. Maybe this is what I want to say, and that's what they want to see. I need to incorporate what I want to see into what I want to sell. Okay, into the statement that I want to make. This is an example. Okay? But the bottom line is that's my game, it's not your game. So my game is, my world is much tougher than your world. Trust me. And this is why people don't pay attention to practitioners' report. Analyst research is not worth very much. Okay? This is why academic research, okay, published in good journal, worth something, right? Worth material amount of money, and worth money, all right? So I care about the editor, because if the editor likes my work, okay, when I send the paper to this journal, I think, okay, this guy is likely to be the editor, okay, handling my submission, my manuscript. What's this guy like? If the guy does not believe in behavioral finance, don't go there, in my argument. Okay? Don't go there. Don't seek to explain the results. Go, okay, maybe behavioral bias, this and that. No. Okay, you need to know. You need to make him happy. If he's happy, he's likely to select a referee who likes the work as well. And if he doesn't like the work, he will select a referee and drop a hint to the referee. Look, this work is nice, very good, interesting, but it doesn't appear to be as insightful as your work. Nevertheless, I still want your expert opinion. High-level journals do this. Right? I'm speaking from my personal experience. Okay. So the key point, I've been elaborating here. So the key point is, when you write, of course you want to finish it off, right? The piece of work. You want to finish it off. You can't be bothered. You don't want to get together. You want to do something else. You want to go shopping. You want to, right, go eat, drink Friday night, Saturday night with your friends, and so on. That's fine. So you want to end the assignment nice and quick. This is a lot now. You've been spending 2 days, 3 days, 4 days on the assignment now. That's a lot. Okay? Okay, fine. I used to feel that way as well. This is a lot of time. You want to play sport, you want to do something else. You've got life, right? Life outside university, that's fine. If you think like that, that's fine too. Okay? So, this should be fine. You're right. This should be fine. Okay. Cool. Fine to you. But not fine to the audience, to the consumers. When we are on the consumer side, we always make comment, yeah, this new phone, the feature is no good, not that good like this, it won't sell. What about your own report? Why don't you make such comments on your own work? You master students, okay? So, in a way, when I was marking, I got very angry at the quality. As if, you know, you want to try pushing your luck. see if you can still get easy mark. I give Fs, even at the master's degree level, at the PhD level. Some students do okay. Sorry, yeah, in one batch. The whole batch, not just one student. The batch for the year. Okay, not many, but the whole batch. When they came to my course, to me, a couple of sessions, right? A couple of weeks into the course, into the term, it became very clear to me that they're not PhD material, such that I am of the opinion. I was of a strong opinion, and I could justify my opinions as well, that they should no longer remain in the program. Yeah, bluntly speaking, I got rid of them. They got B+, they got A's from other courses, from advanced maths courses, fine. So I make inquiries and ask, how could these students got A, got B+ from the maths courses? I asked, can I see exam questions? Can I see students' answers? And can I see the awarded marks? If you are transparent, let me see. I said this to the program director. So, I gave out 1 dog and 1 F, nice and clear. Nice and clear. Right? So by grades, by way of grades, yeah. Students try to remain, but I know they wouldn't survive, wouldn't be able to come up with research proposal, or wouldn't be able to pass the qualifying exam. I knew that, but still would die anyway, right? Will fall through anyway at some stage. But for the sake of saving university resources, the tuition fees are a lot more expensive than MS Finance, the doctoral program. A lot more expensive because they consume more resources. Okay, PhD students consume much more resources, so fees are much higher. So I thought, okay, let's save universities resources. I had to. To me, my reason was these students, or those students now, are not PhD material. You need to behave like master's students. Okay? In order not to come back next year to this course. You need to think like master's students as well. If you're master's students, you don't think like master's students, I'll make sure that you don't get away from this course. Or you quit from the program. You're not going to get your master's degree with July batch. Okay? Assignment is not that difficult. It was nice and clear. Okay. Now, the second pattern. When you ask me questions, okay, about the assignment, you want absolute answer. Is that right or wrong? Is it the right thing to do? The right attitude to take? Is that right or wrong? You want absolute answer. When it said, okay, it could be like this. Oh, right. So this is it, right? You get F. You get F. What you need is guidelines, not absolute answers. Okay? Master's students, master's degree graduates should be able to work independently. Okay? Should be capable of working in the policy making team. Okay? In other words, need to work with unstructured instructions. If you require clear, you always complain to your boss, yeah, instructions are not clear, you don't tell me exactly what you want to do. Yeah. If they can give all this to you, right? Why should they pay you a lot of money? You simply clerks, right? Type what you're told to type. typist. Are you typist? You want to be just typist? Fill in the form? You just want to be able to do that? If yes, if that's what you're looking for, and you're here just to get master's degree for the sake of getting master's degree, quit or make a complaint to the program that I said this. I'm going to give F's. I'm going to give F's to such students. Change your mindset. Not to be a Nobel Prize winner, but to be a master's student. You don't do it now, you decide to do it tomorrow, it will be too late. Trust me. Trust me. Okay? I got very angry, extremely angry. Right? And I've been suppressing my anger for weeks. Thinking a lot, should I tell about the marks before the second assignment? No. To a point, last week I thought I should say something about this. Otherwise, the bad groups will just keep going down further. Okay? You need to rationalize. Okay? If you don't grow up, okay, you think if you want to call yourself master students, if you don't behave like one, I will treat you in the same way as undergrad students. Is that what you want? You want that? Okay. Now, right, you are Nong, right? You junior alumni students, right? Current students. I tell them, if they cannot rationalize the lecture notes, right? The lecture notes that they get, they cannot rationalize lecture notes on their own. If they cannot go out or go to the library outside of class and look for example to help them understand the lecture notes or the theories that I explained in class, their problem. Okay, this is tertiary education. That's for undergrad. Don't wait for example from me, and then when I don't give examples, then complain. Example to show theory work. I come up with examples when the situation is a bit complicated, right? Come up with an example to simplify things. But if the ideas of the theories are not too difficult and yet they find it hard to understand, well, go to the library, get out textbooks, or go anywhere, look for example, right? Study the example and rationalize the theories that I've explained. Okay, do that on their own. If they can't do that, then they should withdraw. Same. So, the way the assignments, right, were presented, of course, except the groups that did well, right? Especially for the groups in, let's say, low 70s, actually are not that much better than those in the 60s. Right? The bottom mark 60, right? Once you know the mark for your own mark, this group should go back and read and ask themselves, really, what should they get? The group that got 60 should get 0 to me, from really. Okay, given this is group effort, master's degree, okay, this is master's degree, and it's group efforts, and you've got not just 1 week to do it. How many weeks? At least 4 or 5. Okay, to do the work, and yet still came up with this piece of garbage, this absolute rubbish. I really should bring it up, right, and humiliate the group and tear it apart in front of everybody in class, for God's sake, really. Right? Yes. I want to treat you as grown-ups. Environment is much more enjoyable, okay, at a master's degree. I appreciate that you work. I appreciate that you work full-time. But the fact that you already know the game, you know the rules, right? You know the conditions, then you need to cut other parts of your life off, at least for a couple of years. You're not going to die. Okay? So, yeah. My blood pressure went right up. Very badly when I saw these two groups. Right up. And I thought, I don't look at the front page with the names, right? I looked at the names later. But when I was actually, it means great disappointment. I'm really disappointed. Okay? Once again, if you just want to have certificate, get certificate, just have master's degree, to show off as master's degree, yeah, you're not going to get it from me. What is this? 286 and what? I'm not for this. Okay, this is good. I understand the rationale for this. But if anyone who wants to use my this and download illegal stuff, it's fine to me as well. Can't be bothered. Oh, this is, you're looking at this is, let me use my real life as an example. You know Anand Jerawong. You know Anand Jerawong, right? Ask them who they are, who he is. I told him that he should buy a new car and don't pretend that he's a poor man. Right? Stop saying to me that he's poor and cannot afford a 10 million baht car. He should change a new car. He, you know, given his driving style, driving behavior, driving habit, you know, a normal Japanese SUV, nowadays they call SUV, right? Like CX-5, forget all those. Buy at the minimum the Q7 or Range Rover or Cayenne. He said, okay, in this case, he needs to sell one of the pieces. How about a small piece? This is one of his small pieces, not the main pieces, small pieces. Yeah, so like so, right? Why would want to use this as an example? I said, you're thinking, is there about one right? I thought, okay, 75 should be about this. This much money, then 28, 30, yeah, 30 something million baht. How much is it? How much would this make? Using calculator on your phone. Exactly? 31, right? About. I was thinking between 28, 30, 30 and a little bit. So I said to him, okay, 1.5 mil for commission to me. You better sell it. And he said, just 1.5% maybe. He's good at. You did fixed income with him? No? He's good at that, right? Yeah. So I said, no, I wasn't asking for 5%. I just asking for 1.5 million commission. He said, well, the total amount is not that small, so 1.5% should be enough. What's the link between this and assignment 1? I said this once in class. What's the link between this example and assignment 1? In general, there's a cap, right? Commission, but there's a cap. Implicit cap here. Okay. So I forwarded to this guy. Right. Okay. So I didn't say anything to him, just sent to him and wanted to see his reaction. If he reacts instantly, then that's a good sign. No, this is different now. Never mind any of this. Here we are. This is for you for today. Okay. So I use that I want to use it as an example to show you what's the link between the property for sale. He didn't want to sell, but I urged him to sell. Right, to buy a new car. And if he could sell, I'll get him to buy something else. But I don't think I'll be successful. Because he keeps complaining about his car. Not that old, but he thinks of his car as a toy. Right? When he was driving his old Mercedes, right, the silver one, you know, no matter how rough the road is, he would just go 140. And then next week he said, oh, the front suspension is gone. But given the way you drive it.
Janka, I got a penthouse in my stock if you're interested.
The what?
Penthouse, free falls. If you're interested.
To sell?
To sell.
He might be interested.
You or he?
Me? Next life. I don't have that money. That's why I'm working as a sales rep for him. I'm generating money here. To him, he's not buying. He's got plenty in Soi Yenagat. You go to Soi Yenagat, you go, this condominium, yeah, it's got, yeah, I've got a room. And the townhouses, yeah, this block. Go here, there's his parents. He's got plenty now. His land titles, if you, right, I think the portion that he probably get from his family, if you stack it up, probably come up to here. And when he walks, ask your classmate. He goes like that. I'm a poor man. But boy, when he used to drink coffee, right? When he used to drink coffee, he doesn't go to Starbucks. He roasts his own beans. And his beans come from certain shops in London or from Chicago. Yeah. He used to spend his money that way, but anyway. It was good for me, good for me. I got to tag along and don't share the cost. But anyway. Okay. Let's get to the slide. So from now on, you're going to have to try to rationalize, see, and look for links. When you study, don't try to memorize. If you don't understand something, keep reading your lecture notes or listening to class discussion here, the lecture. Why are we talking about this? What's going on? Take a step back. Go back up, right? Go back and see what's the objective of this part of the discussion. What's the problem that we're working towards? Okay, or trying to get at. Don't feel relaxed. I'm still angry. Right? I'm still very angry. And you still need to you still need to change your approach. Does this make sense? What is it? Does this make sense? Yeah. Why is the benefit line straight line? What is the rationale for the straight line benefit? If the but from first year economics, we've heard of diminishing marginal return to scale, right? Diminishing marginal rate of return, right? For example, on production. But how come here the revenue curve, okay, or the benefit curve is straight line, it's not concave? Why does it not increase at a decreasing rate? Why does it increase at a constant rate? That is, why is the marginal benefit constant? Why? What's the rationale? Go back to what we know, equation 1. Okay, the trade-off equation. The first right-hand side term in the trade-off equation is V sub u, right? Okay, V sub u should be inset. Yeah, maybe that's a constant. The whole term. What about the second right-hand side term? Tax G. So the trade-off equation that we saw, right? This is the graph is basically graphical representation of the trade-off equation. So where does the trade-off equation come from? We go back step by step. Where does it come from? Where does it come from? Come from Ursuk village, as in the email? Where does it come from? Come from irrelevance equation 4, right? Libet equation 4, yeah? That is proposition 1 with tax. Okay, so the benefit line should be constant then. Should be linear, the benefit line. Should be a straight line. Because it's tau sub CB, right? It should increase linearly with leverage. Yeah, okay. So now we have the rationale for the straight line going up. Okay, the benefit line. What about the cost line? Why is it exponential? When you see stuff like this is what you need to ask. Rather than let's memorize, okay, because the exam is going to be so tricky, 8 choices. I told you there are only 3. Right? If you keep thinking 8 is your problem. Right? If 8 choices in your term is a big problem. How come there are people who get higher marks? For group assignments, the same. In anything, the same. I say this because this is what I practice. I preach this because this is what I practice. Right? When I see my colleagues, my friends, when I see my mentors, right? I have mentors. The big professors, the big guys, the top guys, editors of top journals, for example, right, are my mentors. At some stage, I'll ask to them, well, look, how do people qualify to work with you? When I think I have time, more free time, I'll ask them this question because I want to work with them. I have to volunteer to be their slave, me. I have good publications already, right? For some developed countries, I'm far above average. Okay, the professors at some university in developed countries have not achieved my level. Right, so you think of, just interpret this information by yourself in your own way. And yet, to the top guys, my mentor, I still volunteer to be their slave. Okay. Now, So when they do good work, when they get to publish their works in top journal, and me on my own, I don't. Is there something wrong with those journals? Or is there something wrong with me? How do I think? How do you think I think? How do you think I analyze the situation? When my papers get rejected, let's say from Journal of Finance, and my mentors just keep pumping stuff in Journal of Finance. Assuming you know Journal of Finance. A lot of you probably don't know. Okay. This is a top journal in finance. Or American Economic Review. There's got to be something wrong with me. Okay, a small group of people, of finance professors, only a small group of them get to publish there. But it's not just one people, not just one person, many, although a small group. So there must be something, must be some systematic difference between that small group of people and the rest. Okay? Now a lot of, when I was a student, okay, I went to an sort of average university in the UK. For the UK context, the universities I went to was a very, is still a very good university. The third oldest university in the UK, at least in terms of prestige. Right? I went to Durham. But by the world standard, by US standard, he's nowhere. Right? Pretty average, okay, not too bad. Okay. Right. And then when I was listening to the, let's say a lot of British professors, oh, we publish here, we don't have US data, we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't know what they want. That's why with US journals, which are top journals mostly, are very difficult to publish. So, no, that's no good. We don't know this. We are good, but we don't know this, we don't have this, and that, so we can't do it. That's, to me, that's the UK attitude, which is bad. Okay, so I'm glad I didn't stay in the UK to work. I came here, got exposure, right, to the big guys, the top names from the US. Okay, and my professor told me, yeah, more things about the Americans are bad, but you, he said, me, you need, but they're good at research and you need to learn from them. Right, so I learned. So when I sent my work to a top journal and it got rejected, but other people, a certain group of people, always pump their works in this top journal. How do I analyze the situation? How do you think? Is there something wrong with the journal or something wrong with me? It's something wrong with me. Basically, I keep doing something wrong. Keep repeating that mistake. What are these mistakes? Of course, different papers are different, right? So the same mistakes could be the same, could be mistake again, but on different aspects. I have to work this out. To me, it's something wrong with me, not something wrong with the journal. Right? So, how should I live? There's nobody to tell me what to do. I have to learn by myself. How should I live? I need to rationalize things. Take other things. When you see something like this, what's going on? Where does it come from? Why is it like this? Are you going to memorize? Okay, this is exponential. This is exponential. Well, why? Why is it exponential? How could we rationalize this? Something has got to become larger and larger and larger. Something that is one of the components of the expected cost here as leverage goes up. Okay, larger and larger. What is it then? As we discussed, the probability of distress, right? Is the probability of distress the same as probability of bankruptcy? Is that the same? What does second assignment say? What's the key point in the second assignment? Distress occurs long before actual bankruptcy, right? So is that the same? Well, perhaps not the same. Anyway, this is a gesture. What's the key feature here? If you have to identify one key feature from this graph or from the trade-off equation, what is the most important here? This is for a given firm. So there's benefit, there's cost. The point that the two lines intersect, whatever point, is likely to be the point of something similar to profit maximization, right? Okay, from economic theory. So that's optimal leverage. Okay, so this is the level of leverage that minimizes the cost of capital. Right? Yeah? This is, so L sub 2 is the leverage level that minimizes the cost of capital. Is that correct? Yeah, you write it down. Memorize. Let's memorize that. Keep memorizing it. Write it down. When you read lecture notes from home, try to find time. And when you come here, we have confirmation of your understanding. We talk about your understanding rather than writing it down. Taking notes down. Same as first year undergrad. 1 plus 1 becomes 2, multiply, right? Take it, differentials of things and do this, do that, write it down. What did I say? What did I say? L sub 2 is the point that is the leverage level that minimizes the cost of capital. Yeah? Is there cost of capital in the graph? No? So why do you write it down then? Did I tell you something, if I told you something incorrectly, just to, now this time, just to trick you, not the exam questions, just to trick you. I want to give Fs. Go to the front of, go to my office, right, and read the poem, right, on the door. Come from the engineering school. Okay, a professor from engineering school, okay, faculty of engineering. You want B or C or A? No, no, no. Dog and D and F are my favorite, so I give them to you. Yes, go to both. Okay. All right. What's going on here? I talked about cost of capital. I just said cost of capital, but the graph is firm value. So is the graph wrong or what I said wrong? What I said wrong? I've talked about this in class once. You can't remember because you were trying to memorize it. If you understand something, right? Something caught your attention, okay? It came home with you, then it stays, right? It stays in your mind. Okay? When that's the case, if you understand it, you won't forget it. But if you try to memorize it, keep writing things down, hopefully this will come up in the exam. Okay? You completely forget. Okay, Chapui, was it right or wrong?
Right.
I said cost of capital.
There's no cost of capital in the graph, but I mean, it probably relates with the value of the firm.
In what way? If so, in what way?
Well, the cost of capital, it's the opposite of the value. If you have a higher cost of capital, that means the value is going to go down.
Yeah. Holding constant cash flows, right? Think about valuation. What's the numerator? Valuation formula, valuation equation. On the left-hand side is V, value. Value is present value, right? Numerator, on the right-hand side there's numerator and denominator. Numerator,
Expected cash flow.
well done for the first time. Since session 1. McDonald's, right? Who works at McDonald's? You. What's this one? Different. You in the same group?
No.
Oh, confused. You look confusing anyway. I can't remember. Okay. Numerator and denominator, the cost of capital. So if you hold constant numerator, minimizing the cost of capital is to maximize firm benefit. I've said this once in class. If you understood it, instead of remembering it, if you understood it, okay, yeah. All right. So this is important of L sub 2. Right? If I ask you to explain L sub 1, the importance, economic importance of L sub 1, how would you explain it? I'll leave you to think about it. It may not come up in the final exam. If it doesn't come up in the final exam, it may still come up in the comprehensive exam. So don't bank on past. I know you talk, right? Say, and students of the past say, these are the questions, right? Typical for comprehensive exams. So I think I've told you once, right? I switched questions completely to new questions, different questions completely, and students failed. A lot of students had to take ended up doing the second round. Right? Basically, they didn't understand anything. They just tried to memorize, okay, you know, words of mouth were passed on from generation to generation to generation. Right? These are the exam questions for Fin Theory 2. Right? Comprehensive exam questions for Fin Theory 2. Just memorize the answers and you'll be doing fine. So it's just, okay, well, I keep using the same questions simply because, well, I wanted to help students that didn't pass. I wanted to help, right? But my help was abused. Was used in the wrong way. So one year, there were no, let's say, no students remaining in the comprehensive exam lot that year. All students passed. So for the following year, I went, hey, to myself, I can use fresh questions now. Didn't have to worry about, you know, the second round students. Because if you fail comprehensive exam in the second round, right? The SP, Special Project Track students. If they fail for the second round, they're out of the program, by definition. Okay? They may get all A's, straight A's, right, from coursework. But if they fail comprehensive exam, 2 rounds, right? You have 2 chances. You fail on both chances, then you're out. So I thought, well, let's help. Okay. So in 1 year, no remaining students. So I thought to myself, okay, I could use fresh questions now. All right, what a relief. I don't want to be labeled of recycling exam questions all the time, and the exam questions don't really, you know, say anything. So I just use different questions. It's the same topic, and I thought the exam questions, the new ones, right, that I used for that particular year, were easy as well. Not that difficult, I think much easier. But then a lot of, not just saying something irrelevant, but blank. Or just repeating questions and nothing else. Repeating the questions, right, in several ways. Okay? So that's the clear outcome. That's evidence from memorizing and not trying to understand. Okay? If you think this is too tough, please quit the program now. Save your money, save your time, go elsewhere. At least this course is not for you. Other courses may be for you, but this course is not for you. Okay? And this is a compulsory course. And I've been put on a compulsory course. Okay. All right. So with this trade-off graph, the key features in mind, what could be the prediction of a trade-off? Do we have evidence? That's theory. What about real world? Real world. Okay. What could be the prediction then? If the theory is good, then we should have empirical predictions from the theory. Right? So in this case, what type of firms then would tend to make, would follow trade-off? L sub 2 is moderate and cautious borrowing, right? If firms, we say that somebody, right, make a careful trade-off, make a trade-off in making decisions between cost benefits. That is, they think about the benefits, they think about the cost. Right? So they should be careful. And L sub 2, is L sub 2 moderate borrowing or extreme borrowing? Extremely high, extremely low? It's moderate. Okay? So perhaps in this case then, the prediction would be, yeah, moderate cautious borrowing, perhaps it would be firms with high distress costs. Okay? What could be these firms? Firms that have above average business risk, perhaps. And yeah, and of course, if you think about this firm, what type of firm would that be? Maybe tech stock, high-tech firm. These are firms, at least for this century, right? For this period of a couple of decades, these are firms with unusually valuable growth opportunities, right? High-tech, everything high-tech. 4G, 5G, 10G, right? And we're going to see, nowadays you can see cars, right? I just told my colleague there, my senior colleague, get the car where you can use remote control to tell the car to come to you and to go into the parking. Cars in Thailand can do that now. So BMW 7 Series, I think the top range, right? Not the hotel limousine level, but I think you can tell. Come out, go in, go out, right? And you want to turn the volume on the radio up. Okay, the NSF alumni, right? Said, okay, get it, this is a car, yeah, I bought this, and this is how much? You like it? You like it? You want to use it for a while, Ajahn? That's fine. I said, no. No. If I put a scratch on it, it will cost me my life to fix it. No. Okay, so it goes. Okay, look at this, Ajahn, look at this. This guy is cool. You should see this before you decide that you don't want to use it for a little while. Turn the radio and it goes like that. And the volume goes up, volume goes down on this control. Right? So high-tech stuff, a lot of potentials, right? Like software, hardware. Okay, it's all computerized nowadays. Right? You see, have you ever thought that you have smartphone? Before we have a phone, yeah? And then now we can do all sorts of things on the phone. Turn on the aircon at home, yeah? Use a phone. Nowadays, for some cars, you can use a phone. I've seen somebody told me to even start the car, turn on the aircon in the car, and all this. All these are tech. So these are valuable growth opportunities. Okay, and also intangible assets. So basically, we perhaps can generalize this and say these are high growth stocks. Because in some other decades, later on could be other industries rather than technology industries, right? That have a lot of growth. Okay, so these could be high growth firms. So high growth firms have high distress costs, right? Linking back here. Right. So high growth firms should operate at relatively low leverage. That's the prediction of trade-off. So L sub 2 for high growth firm should be quite low relative to, let's say, blue chip firms or mature firms. Okay? But why should expected distress costs higher for high growth firms? Try to rationalize this. What do you mean rationalizing? Go back to what we already know. Go back to what we already know and go step by step. All right? The balance sheets, the two balances on the left-hand side, right-hand side, and right-hand side term don't balance. What would you do? You'll audit, right? Yeah, you look audit. What do you do? What would you do? Accounting teaches accounting students to think systematically. If the two balances on the balance sheet don't balance, the two sides of balance sheet don't balance, what would you do to start off with?
Put up on cash when it rebalance.
Put what?
Put up on cash.
Okay, change the cash number. But wouldn't that be too risky? Because cash is easy to count. To verify, you're dead. You're basically dead. Right? Where would we start? The two sides of the balance sheet don't balance. At McDonald's, don't balance. You audit, right? No? Jesus Christ. Anyway, they don't balance. What would we do?
Check by transaction.
But by transactions? What transactions? What kind of transactions? First, we would go back to the items, right, on the balance sheet and go through, okay, and ask ourselves which of the items that are the likely suspects, right? And it keep going back, trace back. So that's basically go back to what we already know, what we already have, right? And think step by step. Okay? So why would growth firms have relatively high distress costs? Have high distress costs relative to mature firms. Growth firms have more to lose. Yeah? What does that mean, growth firms have more to lose? Growth firms. Think about PE. High PE or low PE that are growth firms? High PE, right? So the price of growth firm come from expected what? Growth opportunities, right? Opportunities. Or assets in place. Opportunities, right? But the value of, on the other hand, the value of mature firm derives from assets in place. Existing, right? Cash flows, right? Being generated by assets in place. Okay. So if growth firms somehow cannot invest because of leverage, right? Growth firm cannot invest in new projects, yeah? Because growth firm derives the value, the price of the growth firm, the value of growth firm derives from new projects, right? Not assets in place. So if growth firm cannot invest in new projects, what would be the impact, the size of the impact of this, not being able to invest in new projects on the value of growth firm? Bear this in mind. And think about the same scenario, same problem, but for mature firms. Mature firms don't have a lot of new projects, right? They still grow, right? A big chunk of the value of mature firms does not come from future projects, right, or new projects. So if mature firms cannot invest in new projects, that's why it's not a big chunk of the value that will be lost, right? But this is not the case for growth firm. For growth firm, a big chunk will be lost. Okay, when a big chunk of the value is lost, what happens to financial distress? It's likely to be, the probability of that will be higher. Why is that? Well, if firms don't invest, who will? Someone else will, right? If someone else invests, right, and our firm doesn't invest, what would happen to our firm? We lose competitive edge. We die. Okay, be done. So that's distress. Okay. So trade-off would also predict that firms or industry, at industry level as well, high distress cost should be cautious and operate at low target leverage. So L sub 2 should be further to the left. Okay. Let's say for high firm with or industry with high distress cost, sensitive to changes in economy, for example, or high growth firms. Okay. Any firms that fit this description. Now, do we observe this pattern? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. L sub 2, however measured, that's another story. But L sub 2 for growth firms lies further to the left, significantly further to the left, of course, to L sub 2 of mature firms. Okay? So, nice and clear here is that growth firms should aim for, if you run growth firm, you should aim for high L sub 2 or low L sub 2. Low L sub 2. L sub 2 that lies further to the left, right? And the opposite, probably, well, the opposite holds for mature firms. So the implication here is that firms, either high growth, low growth, in whatever industry, so they have target leverage, right? Okay. This is, if you like, the first order prediction of trade-off theory. Existence of L sub 2. Optimal leverage. For a given firm, okay, considering the firm's opportunities and constraints, okay, there exists L sub 2, optimal leverage for a given firm, for all firms, if you like. Okay. So this is, when you say optimal leverage, optimal capital structure, optimal cash holdings, right? Optimal debt maturity, optimal this, optimal that, as long as it's got to do with whatever aspect of debt financing, of financing mix, then we're talking about trade-off theory. It comes from trade-off theory. Okay, there's a target leverage. So sometimes you hear the term target leverage or optimal leverage. Means the same. If you know this is optimal, it is our target. So these two terms are used interchangeably all the time in the literature. What would be your answer to this question? How does the prediction of existence of L sub 2 differ from the first order prediction, the most important prediction of the pecking order theory? Let's go back to pecking order theory. This should be covered in the final exam. Yeah. What's the most important prediction of pecking order theory? In this case, don't read a lot of textbooks, because I think a lot of textbooks are wrong here, right? Because the authors don't really understand the theory. Right? A lot of textbooks authors are right. Not all, but really. Hopefully not the majority. Pecking order theory from undergrad years. Internal equity, and borrowing, and then external equity. But what is it that generates this order of financing preferences? Behavior. I asked, well, basically what drives this behavior, and you say behavior? Adverse selection. Right. But what outcome of adverse selection is it really that drives this ordering? The cost of adverse selection. Right? Adverse selection costs firms, costs existing shareholders. So the price drop, right? The price drop. The wealth dilution. It is the wealth dilution that drives this ordinary preference. Okay? Okay, or financing preference, the ordering of these financing preferences. So start off with but picking order is all about pure equity firms. But of course, we discussed how debt financing could be incorporated right into the adverse selection framework here. Okay, and then so we have internal equity, not just versus external equity, but internal equity versus debt financing, right? And debt financing, which is external funding, right? External fixed claim versus external residual claims. Okay. All right. So, how does the prediction of target leverage differ from the implication of pecking order theory? How does the trade-off theory and pecking order theory differ from each other? Students just love, finance students just love the term financial tools. Financial tools. And a lot of universities, you know, oh, training program, this program, MBA in finance, MS, F. MS what? In what program? MS?
This one.
F. Right. As the name suggests, MSF. A lot of F. Say financial tools, you know, this training program and this program, since you learn about financial tools. What are these? When I hear things like this, I thought, man, I just want to vomit. It's just completely uneducated, uninformed. Financial tools, what? Financial calculator, IRR, NPV. And when IRR and NPV keep ranking conflicts, what do? We open up textbook and say size effect. What if the two projects have the same size? You know this. Anyway, if you want to, you know, be good at using financial tools, want to be fund managers, want to, you know, be working on the financing side of the firm, you make whatever decisions, you know what you're talking about, for God's sake. I've heard of university professors, right, in Thailand, of course, right, giving out sort of training in a firm, right? They get paid money, right? So they teach, you know, have a training program, get paid to run the training program for a firm, right, in private sector, an organization, and they say, you know, capital structure, the irrelevance theorem in practice is not good. We can't use that as a tool, decision tool, because, you know, it doesn't hold. Trade-off. If trade-off doesn't hold, why do you use WACC? When you do valuation, how come you can you use WACC? If the trade-off doesn't hold, sorry, if irrelevance doesn't hold. Maybe it's better to apply trade-off theory or pecking order theory to real world capital structure decisions. Apply. How would you apply trade-off? Okay, what about pecking order theory? How should we apply pecking order theory? Maybe first we should use internal financing. And when we run out of internal financing, run out of slack, we use borrowing, and we use external equity. Apply theory and do this. Okay? And what if, when we make decisions, right? Our decisions are marginal decisions, right? When we do project, what type of cash flow do we include in the project valuation? Sunk cash flows, all of the cash flows or marginal cash flows, incremental cash flow. Incremental cash flows, right? So the decision is a marginal decision at the margin, right? As in the sense that we, as a running of the firm, right? The firm has as an existing portfolio of assets. You want to add new assets, you want to, right? So the firm may have reached its borrowing capacity already. Can't borrow anymore. And the firm, let's say firm still have a bit of cash, right? So let's first go through go through the order here. So in this case, let's start with internal equity and borrow. But we can't borrow anymore. Yeah, borrow fine, but at very high cost. Very high cost. So now, then what? We can't borrow. Bank may say no. In this case, what theory to apply? What theory to apply? Picking? Well, we can't borrow.
External.
Then go to external equity. If you can't borrow, you think you can sell equity? If you come to equity, if I go to equity market, you are equity market investors, right? Assuming that you are rational, you can tell that I go to equity market because I can't borrow. In the pecking order, in the adverse selection framework, firms that come to equity market can be modeled as firms that cannot borrow. And that fits well with the pecking order framework, right? So firms that go for external equity are the firms that cannot borrow. Would you invest in my firm? Would you buy equity in my firm?
No.
No. So I don't have to invest them. I can't invest them. I can't raise money. Right? Well, picking order theory does not predict that. It implies the ordering preferences here. These are all ex ante. So firm will try to accumulate borrowing capacities first. Right? So theories, we learn from theory, right? Theory predicts that, for example, life cycle. You've heard of life cycle, right? Firm life cycle. A lot of people call this life cycle theory. Could be life cycle theory of capital structure or dividend. Okay, so after the maturity stage, what happens to firm? After maturity stage, what happens to firm? Firm die. Right? Firms die. Decline, die. So, how should we apply this theory? I bet that particular finance, say lecturer or professor, whatever you want to call, right, from a famous university too, will say, maybe we die. To apply life cycle theory, maybe we die. So this theory is no good because we don't want to die. Okay, if the theory predicts that ex ante, right after maturity, firm will die, okay, for the reasons that is stated in the theory, then if we are decision makers, when we reach the maturity stage, what do we have to do? Theory tells us that need to come up with new projects, need to stay young, do whatever it takes to stay young, or go back to the sort of growth phase again and grow again. Right? Do we see this? Do we see this? We do. Coca-Cola? You drink Coca-Cola? Yeah. Is Coca-Cola, is it mature? Is it blue chip stock? It's blue chip firm. When is it gonna die? Never. Why not?
Everybody loves Coke.
Sorry?
Everybody loves Coke.
Okay. But what if they stop the adverts? You forget. We will forget Coca-Cola.
No, we can't drink without Coke. No one's forgetting Coke.
Sorry?
We can't drink without Coke. No one's forgetting Coke.
Okay? But why does Coca-Cola keep doing the adverts, coming up with the adverts? To burn money?
Just to stay relevant, you know, a little bit.
Okay. Okay, right. So to apply. So if we understand picking order, if we understand trade-off, think about the two theory seriously rather than writing things down and to pass the test of memory. You see the difference. What is picking order theory all about? About adverse selection, right? And financing preferences. Does it predict L sub 2? Picking order theory? Does it predict L sub 2? No. It says, do this when. Do this when. Do that when. Right? Debt financing when. Debt financing will happen. Firm cannot avoid debt financing when. Firm cannot avoid external equity when. Right? Does it predict L sub 2? No. Trade-off predicts L sub 2. So there's no optimal leverage. There's no optimal leverage. Optimal leverage does not exist in the picking order theory. Okay. All right. Now, what could be example, coming back to the trade-off, example of the distress cost? Well, whatever that could be, okay, if we want to claim that the trade-off equation significantly differs from equation 4 in the irrelevant theorem, the third right-hand side term in the trade-off equation must be big enough. Is it big enough? Did we discuss this kind of question earlier? Have we discussed this before? Have we? Have we? Yeah. When we were discussing whether equation 4 really differs from equation 1, right? Right? The size of, right, the literature overall suggests that we should view this in reality, right, L sub CV as the upper bound of the expected textile benefit of debt financing. Strictly as the upper bound, not as implied by the gesture of equation 4. Equation 4 basically says, differently we'll get that. But, you know, going back to the 1958 irrelevance assumptions, underlying operating cash flows are random. Firms issue risky equity. If firm issues risk-free debt and risky equity, it's got to be that operating cash flows are random. And if it is random, during some periods then, firms may not be paying tax. Firms make losses, right? Let's recall, okay? If you understand that, you will see straight away, okay, we're asking pretty much the same question. Take the same approach to analysis, to analyzing problems. Okay, so in the context of trade-off, is this term big enough to make the trade-off theory realistic description of reality, of economic phenomena? Is this big enough? If this is not big, then basically 1958 theorem holds. But some of you say, yeah, but debt, risk-free debt. Firms don't issue risk-free debt. Do firms issue risk-free debt? No, right? But think about in reality, with frictions and all the rest of it, if you don't feel safe enough, would you lend? Would you lend if you don't feel safe enough? You would have to feel almost risk-free, right? To lend at the rate higher than risk-free rate. That's why you take a lot of collateral. Yeah? So, in a way, in this case, then WACC holds in reality. What does it mean, WACC holds? Proposition 2 holds in reality. Right? R sub E increases linearly in D over E, assuming that R sub D and rho being constant. Okay? So in this case, this whole. All right. So it is big enough to make theory work. Well, cost. What are the financial expenses? Think of them as direct cost and indirect cost. Just like in factory. Yeah, in a factory. There are direct costs and indirect costs. Of course, you can think of fixed cost and variable cost. Okay? And for the fixed cost, there are direct fixed costs and indirect fixed costs as well, right? You work in a factory. You do factory accounting, right? Cost accounting. You have to do a lot of this. Look at a lot of this. Okay. We can think of direct costs as costs for which there are bills. We can touch and feel it, can measure it correctly. If you fall into bankruptcy and or the reorganization process, Chapter 11, okay, in the US market they call this Chapter 11. In Thailand, I think this is called receivership. I can't remember the Thai words for this. Okay, I was using these words during the 1997 financial crisis period because I was working for the two of the 56 financial trusts, right? Trusts that were closed down. 56 trusts were closed down during the 1997 period, right? Financial crisis. I was working for two of them. Okay, not working for the trust, working on the legal team, liquidating the two trusts. Okay, two of the 56. Okay, basically trying to get the owner, the ultimate owner, the real owner of the two trusts off the hook. Right? Yeah, anyway, no. So we saw, yeah. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's sort of not reorganization, it's sort of liquidation. Liquidations, right? The two trusts have already been closed, but there are legal cases for illegal trading. Okay. Right. So I was working on a lawyer's team, part of the lawyer's team, but not handling the law, but the financial transactions, right? Giving opinion. Right. All right. So there will be lawyers' fees, legal costs, admin costs, the court fees, and so on. There are bills, right? And we were sending bills and bills and bills and bills to the owner of the two trusts. Same owner, two trusts. The largest shareholder. There were other shareholders, big shareholders as well, right? But this person was the largest shareholder in the two trusts. Okay. And we shut down disposal costs. In the case of factories, okay, if they went into the liquidation process or after bankruptcy has been declared, okay, or there's dispute, okay, and the dispute is now being heard by the court, right? The dispute is now in the process, the plants have to shut down. Right, because it's an asset under dispute. Okay, so there'll be disposal costs, shutdown costs. Of course, there are bills for this. Okay, prolonged operating losses because of the disputes. Yeah, we would have sold this much, would have generated this much revenue, but we can't now because the plant is shut down. Right. The outstanding customers' orders are not met. Yeah? So we can measure all these losses. So how large do you think these costs are? For which we can directly measure? Or there are bills for the cost? Pay attention to this question. Not this question. I'm going to ask you, why are we asking this question? This is the approach you need to adopt to adopt for studying at the master's degree level. And certainly for the undergrad in my course. In our course, not just my course. Ajahn Ratachai's courses. Why are we asking this question? Why?
Because it doesn't hold the value mathematics.
That's right. That's right. That's right. What are we talking about here? What problem are we trying to figure out? Right? Is this big enough to make the theory work? Is this big enough? Okay. All right. The literature suggests that no, it's not. These bills are not together, not big enough. Right? All up, it could be 50 million baht for firm, average size firm, 50 million baht, 100 million baht max, or 200 million. Okay. But given the size of the firm, let's say firm with the size of DTAC going into bankruptcy, right? There are disputes now. Okay, the liquidation process has started. Okay, the firm has now been declared bankrupt and going to, or not yet bankrupt, but now in the receivership. You understand receivership? Receivership. If a firm, right, gets into receivership, the stage of receivership, there will be a receivership manager to run the firm. And existing management will have to leave the office. I'm the receivership manager. Receiver manager. Okay. I go into you're the manager, existing manager. I go into your office, you get out of the office, the court will say, you out of the office, I will now run the firm. To look after stakeholders, okay, or claimants on the firm's assets, as per their or the order of their claim priorities, okay, who get paid first, right? Now, if possible, yeah, we can avoid bankruptcy at the end of the day, right? Technically speaking, we could still avoid bankruptcy, but realistically speaking, I haven't seen one firm that goes into receivership and comes out of receivership. So when firms go into receivership, in this sort of when court orders receivership, the next step is basically bankruptcy. Okay. So when we see receivership, this firm is in receivership, and the notary public has been informed, right? The advert has to be put up on newspapers, right? Public announcement. Then I haven't seen firm coming out of receivership. Now for the firm of DTAC size of DTAC, close to us, so I always use DTAC as an example. University, I'm not sure whether good customer, good tenant, I'm not sure. Okay, but I don't like DTAC very much. Reception, no good. Right? They don't look after their customers. Yeah. Anyway, right. That was a DTAC size, and into receivership. What would be the size of these costs all up? 500 million baht, all up, 500 million baht. Is this big enough to make theory work? 500 million baht for the firm with the size of DTAC. What about 1 billion baht? 1 billion baht. Is it big enough? Big enough? Okay. Actually, the literature says that no, they not big enough. Okay. And Andre and Kaplan, right, based on the small sample, right, in their study in JF. But look, after this paper has been published in 1998, it's difficult to publish papers in this area anymore. Extremely difficult, because this paper is really insightful and really establishes that the third right-hand side term in the trade-off equation, third right-hand side term, expected distress cost, right, for that term, a big chunk of that term, comes around long before actual bankruptcy or receivership. A firm falls into, if you like, as implication, reorganization process or Chapter 11 process. Okay. How? Let's ask ourselves. Let's suppose we all here hold shares, right, in DTAC. In our portfolio, we include DTAC shares in our portfolio. What if we hear that DTAC is becoming a bit wobbly? I've heard of something about Thaicom. Is there something about Thaicom? Not yet, right? Oh, Earth? Maybe Earth? Right, okay, whatever. Let's say DTAC. Let's use DTAC as an example here because DTAC is still financially strong. Okay. Suppose we hear something not quite right about the financial health of DTAC. Unconfirmed. It's not officially confirmed. I turn to you, you turn to me, you turn to... Yeah, we've heard the same thing, man. Yeah, we heard the same thing. What would be your decision? 3 choices. A, B, C first. Right? Practice again for final exam. Buy more, hold, sell. Buy, hold, sell. What would you do? Hold? You buy more? No. Okay, so choice A is correct. You're not buying any more, right? Would you hold? Maybe some of you may hold, right? Let's wait and see. Let's not panic. Let's stay put. Let's stay put, and then exercise your put option. Okay? Stay put. And sell. Maybe some of you would go stay put, hold. Some of you would go sell. Any buy? No. Given these answers, given that the correct choices are B and C, right? In this case. If B is correct, C is correct, which choice you have to tick? Choice F. Choice F. Yeah. D, A and B. C, A and D, E. E, then A and C, right? F, B and C, so choice F. Right? I know a lot of you would want to avoid this choice in the exam, but sometimes F would lead to an A. Again, what would happen to share price? Drop. By how much? How much do you think share price would drop? 2%? 2%? 3%? 4%? 20%? Maybe bigger. It can be 70% of the market cap wiped out during the period of 1 week. Don't be surprised that this can happen to a single stock. It may not happen to the index, right, which is a value-weighted portfolio of so many stocks. Okay, but for a single stock, this kind of pattern is nice and is clearly possible. Okay, speaking from my personal experience in my data set, when I was doing my PhD, there's funny results, right? There are funny results in one corner of the analysis. Okay, and I really panicked because the point estimate is just too big. The median is big as well. It's a small sample, right? So I had to start doing the auditing on my data. I went back to the data source. Everything was correct. So what's just the error, data error at source? Wasn't so sure. I looked up the news archives, newspapers, right? Went to the library, got the microfiche out, searched the internet first. There was internet back then, news, and then went to the news archives, the news database, and saw, aha, this firm. This is the problem, right? This particular firm is a property management company Okay, and it was its prospects weren't looking so good, and the firm, as the news had it, had to secure this contract. Okay, a new contract to manage a big contract to survive, given the existing leverage and everything as well. Okay, so the do or die day is in about 2 weeks' time. This is the first news article that I read. The next article, the news had it, that time came. The company did not succeed in the auction, so it could not secure this crucial contract to maintain the value of the firm. What happened to the share price? I think it dropped a lot. It dropped by about almost 60%, most definitely more than 50%, right, this week. Next week, it drops again as the news came out, and the management didn't offer any solution, okay, to the firm. Right? Dropped a bit more, and about 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks later, it got delisted. So I checked, right, the timing from the news articles here against the data series in my sample fits. Okay, so there was no error. Okay, the firm didn't go bankrupt. Got delisted, and some other firm took over it, right, bought it. Okay, so all the culpable personnel and all that stayed on, but as a private firm or as a subsidiary of a parent of a holding company, didn't go bankrupt, but the firm was in financial distress. So the value loss, that was pretty much about, over the period of few weeks here, about 90% of the market cap of equity was wiped off the table in less than a month. Within a period of less than a month, it's drop. Okay, and abnormal return, in terms of abnormal return, it was more than negative 120-something% abnormal return. How could you have 100, let's say 120% loss? Is that possible? On the raw basis, no. But net of the market return, yes. Net of the benchmark. If the benchmark was going up. Yeah. Right. So there was something wrong in my data. I had to go back step by step and check. Now, I told you why am I telling you about this example, this firm? Why? Think about 80%, 90% of market cap, or just 50% of market cap, right? A firm losing, firm share price, right, going down, let's say by 50%. Is that 1 billion baht? No, that's not 1 billion baht. Many times that, right? So 1 billion baht compared to the market cap, it is very, very small. Alone, not big enough to make a theory work. Okay? Right, let's take a break and we come back to the indirect cost. So we're into the indirect cost now.